The cold hit Connor the moment he pushed through the revolving door of the Meridian Grand. Not the cold from outside. He had spent 3 winters in northern Manitoba on training exercises. He knew cold. This was something else. This was the kind of cold that lives inside places built to make certain people feel small. He stopped just past the entrance, let his eyes move across the lobby the way they always did. Left wall, right wall, exits, blind corners. 3 cameras visible, 1 more probable above the concierge desk. 42 people in his field of vision, none of them a threat. Koda sat beside his left boot and did not move. The lobby of the Meridian Grand in downtown Vancouver smelled like cedar and money. The floors were polished marble. The chandelier above the check-in desk was the size of a small car. The kind of hotel where the water on the nightstand came in glass bottles with French labels, and where the staff smiled at you in a way that told you exactly how much you were worth to them before you opened your mouth. Connor was 38 years old. He had been a Navy SEAL for 11 years. He was on leave for the first time in 14 months. He was wearing his old canvas jacket, worn at both elbows, and a pair of boots that had more mileage on them than most people's cars. He had not shaved in 4 days. He was not there for the hotel. He was there for his sister. Vivian was getting married in 2 days. The rehearsal dinner was tomorrow evening in the hotel's private dining room. She had called him 6 weeks ago, voice thin and careful, and asked if he could make it. He had said yes before she finished the sentence. He had not seen her in 2 years. He crossed the lobby toward the check-in desk. Koda moved with him, step for step, without any signal, without any leash pull. Koda had been trained at CFB Borden before Connor was assigned him. The dog weighed 34 kilograms and had more confirmed detection hours than most handlers twice his age. He was also, in Connor's private opinion, the most emotionally intelligent living thing he had ever met. They were halfway across the lobby when the man appeared. He came from the direction of the concierge station, mid-40s, slim, in that careful way that required effort. Dark blazer with the Meridian Grand crest on the breast pocket. His name tag said Warren. Below that, Gas Skevesy's director. Warren did not walk toward them. He intercepted them. "Sir." The word came out politely enough. "May I help you?" Connor stopped. "Here to check in." "Of course." Warren's eyes moved to Koda. They did not move away. "Is that your animal?" "Yes. I'm afraid the Meridian Grand has a strict no-pets policy. You're welcome to visit our concierge desk to arrange kennel accommodations nearby." Connor reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and produced a folded document. He had carried it in the same pocket for 3 years. He held it out. Warren took it with 2 fingers, like he was handling something that might be damp. "He's a certified military working dog," Connor said. "Active service. That document is his federal accreditation. Under the Accessible Canada Act and the Canadian Human Rights Act, he has right of access." Warren read the document, or he performed reading it. His expression did not change. "I see." He handed it back. "Unfortunately, our policy doesn't make exceptions, even for service animals of this category. Our other guests have allergies, phobias. We have a responsibility to." "The law doesn't include an exception for phobias," Connor said. The words were quiet. Not aggressive, just factual. Warren's expression shifted, very slightly, toward something that was not quite a smile. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of the properties near the airport. I'd be happy to arrange a shuttle." There it was. Connor had heard versions of that sentence in a lot of different places. Gas stations, laundromats. Once, memorably, at a public library. It always meant the same thing. It was never about the dog. "My sister is a guest here," Connor said. "She's getting married this weekend. I have a reservation under the name Connor Hale." Warren turned toward the check-in desk. He spoke briefly with the woman behind the counter, who typed something and nodded. He turned back. "Mr. Hale." "Yes, I see your reservation." He said it the way a doctor reads a chart when the news is not good. "However, I'm going to need to speak with our general manager before I can confirm whether we're able to honor it given." The circumstances being the dog. The circumstances being our policy, which I've just told you is superseded by federal law. Warren smiled. It reached nowhere near his eyes. I appreciate your perspective, Mr. Hale. If you'd like to take a seat in our lobby, I'll have someone with you shortly. He was already walking away before he finished the sentence. Connor did not sit down. He stood where he was. Koda sat at his heel and watched Warren retreat across the marble floor with calm, amber eyes. Around them, the lobby continued its choreography. A bellhop wheeled a cart stacked with matching luggage. A woman in a fur-trimmed coat argued quietly with her travel companion near the elevator bank. A family with 2 young children waited near the concierge desk, the smaller child staring openly at Koda with an expression of pure wonder. Connor waited. He was good at waiting. It was one of the things 11 years had given him that nobody outside the teams quite understood. Patience was not passive. Patience was assessment. Patience was knowing that the situation would develop and that his job was to stay clear-eyed until it did. 7 minutes passed. Warren returned. He had a second man with him now. The second man was larger, not as slim. He was wearing the same blazer, same crest, but his name tag said it. His name was printed below, Derek. A small, cold thing clicked into place behind Connor's sternum. Mr. Hale, Warren stopped at a careful distance. Our general manager has reviewed the situation. Given our other guests' comfort and safety, we're unable to accommodate an animal of this size and breed in our property. We'll be fully refunding your reservation. You can't refuse accommodation on the basis of breed, Connor said. That's a violation of, Sir. Derek had moved forward. I'm going to need to ask you to come with me. I haven't checked out. You haven't checked in, Derek said. At this point, you're an individual who's been asked to leave the property and has refused. That changes your legal standing here. Koda's head turned, very slowly, toward the left. Connor noticed. He always noticed when Koda did that. But he did not look. Not yet. He kept his eyes on Derek. Call the Vancouver Police non-emergency line, Connor said. Read them the applicable sections of the Accessible Canada Act. They'll clarify this for you. We don't need clarification, Warren said. We need you to leave. Then we have a problem. Derek reached out and put a hand on Connor's arm. That was a mistake. Not because Connor reacted. He did not react. He stood completely still, and Derek's hand sat on his arm like a man who had just grabbed the railing of a bridge in the dark and was only now beginning to understand the drop. Remove your hand, Connor said. His voice had not changed. It never changed. Derek removed his hand. But Warren had already pulled his phone from his jacket pocket and was speaking into it, quietly, facing away. The lobby around them had changed. Not dramatically, but the bellhop with the cart had stopped moving. The woman at the concierge desk had turned. 3 guests near the fireplace lounge had gone still in the particular way that people go still when they are watching something they do not want to appear to be watching. Koda moved. It was not dramatic. He did not bark. He did not growl. He simply stood from his sit, took 4 steps to the left, and stopped in front of a large ornamental planter near the base of the staircase. He lowered his nose. He circled once, tightly. Then he sat. He looked back at Connor. Connor's entire nervous system went quiet. In 11 years he had seen Koda make that movement in Kandahar, in a vehicle checkpoint south of Mosul, in a training exercise outside Petawawa, where the instructors had planted a mock device in a ceramic flower pot to test the newer handlers. The movement was always exactly the same. 4 steps. Tight circle. Sit. Look back. It was not a play alert. Koda did not play. Warren, Connor said. Warren was still on his phone. Warren! Warren turned. His expression suggested he had not expected to be addressed by first name, and that he found it presumptuous. You need to call building security and tell them to evacuate this lobby. A pause. Excuse me? My dog has alerted on that planter. Connor kept his voice the same volume. Calm. The kind of calm that came not from the absence of urgency, but from absolute management of it. He's a certified explosive detection animal. His alert rate in controlled testing is 96.3%. You need to clear this space now. The word sat in the lobby like a stone dropped in still water. Warren stared at him. Derek stared at the planter. He's bluffing, Warren said, but his voice had dropped half a tone, and he was not quite looking at Connor when he said it. "Call it in," Connor said. "Call it in or let me call it in. Either way, this lobby needs to clear." Warren's jaw tightened. "This is a disruption tactic, Derek. He's creating a scene because we've asked him to leave." "I'm asking you to make a phone call," Connor said. "If I'm wrong, I leave. If I'm right, everyone in this lobby gets to go home tonight." From the far side of the lobby near the fireplace lounge, an older man stood up from his chair. He was perhaps 70. Silver hair, neat, a wool sweater in a dark green. He walked toward them with the measured pace of someone who had decided something and was not going to be hurried about it. "Excuse me," the man said to Warren. "I've been sitting over there for about 20 minutes. I watched this whole thing." He looked at Connor. "Is your dog one of those detection animals? Military trained?" "Yes," Connor said. The man turned to Warren. "My son-in-law served in the RKF for 18 years. I know what a working dog looks like, and I know what an alert looks like. I've seen it at CFB Comox twice." He gestured at the planter. "That dog just did it." "Sir, we appreciate your concern," Warren began. "Call the police," the old man said. "Or I will." He pulled a phone from his sweater pocket and held it in his hand, and his hand was completely steady, and his eyes were completely clear, and he was not angry. He was something more effective than angry. He was certain. Something in the lobby shifted again. The woman at the concierge desk had picked up her desk phone. The bellhop had stepped back toward the wall. The family with the 2 children, the father had moved in front of his kids, instinctively, the ancient geometry of protection. Warren looked at Derek. Derek looked at the planter. Derek called it in. The next 4 minutes were the longest 4 minutes Connor had spent in a building that was not on fire or actively hostile. The lobby did not evacuate cleanly. Lobbies never did. There was the usual churn of confusion. Some people moved toward exits efficiently. Some people moved toward the drama. Some people stood exactly where they were and looked at their phones as though that might resolve things. Connor guided people he could reach toward the main entrance. Koda stayed at his heel and did not react to the commotion around him. His eyes stayed on the planter. The officer arrived first. Her name was Anita. She was with the Vancouver Police Explosive Ordnance Unit liaison, and she was moving fast but not running, which told Connor everything he needed to know about her training. She spoke to Connor for 45 seconds. She looked at Koda. She looked at the planter. She got on her radio. The EOD team arrived 11 minutes after that. Connor stood on the pavement outside the Meridian Grand's main entrance in the November drizzle. Koda sat beside him. The old man from the lounge, his name, it turned out, was Arthur, stood nearby with a coffee someone had produced from somewhere. Arthur was watching the hotel entrance with the expression of a man who had decided to see this through. Warren stood 30 feet away. He had his phone in his hand, but he was no longer speaking into it. He was watching the entrance, too. The device was in the planter. Connor heard it from Anita, who came out through the main doors after 52 minutes with the particular flat calm of someone giving a debrief. Homemade. Pressure-sensitive components, designed to detonate under weight. The planter had been accessible from the street-level service entrance, and building security had not swept the lobby since 6 that morning. There were over 60 people in the lobby when Koda had alerted. Anita shook Connor's hand. She crouched down and she spoke quietly to Koda for a moment in that way that people who understood working dogs always did. Not baby talk, not cooing, just a direct acknowledgement, a murmured "good boy" that Koda received without theatrics. Connor looked at the dog. Koda looked back at him with those amber eyes that missed nothing and required nothing. There are things a man carries home from service that don't show in the way he stands or the way he fills out paperwork. They live somewhere quieter. In the width of the pause before he speaks. In the way he reads a room before he enters it. In the dog that sits at his left boot in the lobby of a hotel that would rather he were somewhere else and says nothing, and knows everything, and waits. Warren approached. He did not look the same as he had 40 minutes ago in the lobby. His jacket was damp from the drizzle, and he had lost some of the architectural certainty that the Meridian Grand's crest and marble floors had given him. "Mr. Hale," he said. Connor waited. "I owe you an apology." The words came out one at a time like he was reading them off something. "I handled that poorly. I should have." "I don't need the apology," Connor said. 60-some people in that lobby do. The woman at the concierge desk who's been standing out here in the cold for an hour does." He looked at Warren evenly. "And you should call the people who built this hotel and tell them they need to review their service entrance access logs. Tonight." Warren nodded. He nodded for a long time, actually, as though the motion were doing something useful. Connor turned away. Arthur appeared at his elbow. He held out his coffee, then seemed to remember it was his and put it back. "You should come inside when they let us back in," the old man said. "I've been staying here 3 days, and I'm going to have a conversation with the general manager about a few things. Starting with the fact that his director of guest services just tried to remove a federal military asset from the building because he didn't like the way you looked." "I appreciate that," Connor said. "My son-in-law used to say the thing about the service is that nobody outside it ever really understands what you've been doing for them." Arthur looked at Koda. "I think dogs understand, though." Connor looked down at Koda. Koda was already looking up at him. The drizzle came down soft and even over Vancouver, and the lights of the city reflected off the wet pavement in long, wavering columns. The EOD van was still parked at the service entrance. The lobby would be cleared within the hour. Vivian would call in about 15 minutes, probably, having heard something through the hotel's communication chain, voice going to that careful register she used when she was trying not to sound frightened. He would pick up before the second ring, he always did. Anita came back out and told him the building was being cleared floor by floor, routine procedure, and that his reservation had been flagged for VIP handling at management's request, which meant nothing to Connor but made Arthur produce a short, dry laugh. A constable Connor had not met came over and asked if Koda needed anything. "Water, maybe," Connor said yes. The constable disappeared and came back with a paper cup, and Koda drank from it with the unhurried dignity of a dog who had earned his rest. Someone took a photo of that. Connor did not know who. He did not particularly care. There are moments that don't announce themselves as they happen. They looked like a drizzly Tuesday evening outside a hotel you weren't even sure you wanted to stay in. They looked like a cup of water for a dog, and an old man in a green sweater finishing his coffee, and a reservation that almost wasn't honored. They looked like nothing until later. And then you understand that you were in the middle of something, and so was everybody else, and the only reason 60 people got to go home to their families was a 34-kilogram dog who never needed to raise his voice. Connor's phone buzzed. "Vivian," he picked up before the second ring. "Hey," she said. Her voice was doing the careful thing. "I heard something happen downstairs. Are you okay?" "I'm good," he said. "I'm outside. Koda's with me." She let out a breath. "You always say that like it explains everything." "It does," he said. Koda looked up at him, held his gaze. Then he looked back out at the wet street with those amber eyes that had seen things Connor could not put into words, in places that did not appear on the kind of maps most people ever looked at. The narrator will tell you this. Most of the people who walked out of the Meridian Grand that night didn't know what had happened. They would piece it together later from the news, from the building's official statement, from the photograph that circulated on social media of a dog drinking from a paper cup outside a glittering hotel in the Vancouver drizzle. Some of them would share the story. Some of them would remember it in the particular way that near misses attach themselves to memory, vivid and strange, and edged with something you can't quite name. Some of them, the next time they passed a man in a worn canvas jacket with a working dog at his side, would look twice. Not out of suspicion. Out of recognition. That, too, is a kind of justice.